You can think about it as a decentralized private key. It's not really a private key as the way that you would think about it, but it works very similarly to a private key. And the idea is that for this private key, you can derive the address, right? Depends on the curve of the that you are using for signing for the signature algorithm. But at the end of the day, the idea is that you can have this address on Bitcoin, this address on Ethereum, this address on Solana, this address on Sui, and you can generate signatures.
GM, Omer, it's great to have you back on the pod. I always like to do this kind of interviews before the network launches and after it actually launches. The last time we talked, it was named the wallet. Right now, it's rebranded to Ika, which I think is a lot more cooler. Also, you're killing it on the branding. How are you, Omer?
Good. First of all, thank you for having me. And yeah, I agree. I think Kika is an amazing name, and I'm really excited about the name, the branding, and everything that we're working on.
Yeah. Also, I was watching your page just before you started, so I saw that you have a strong backup from Sui Foundation from Ateni.
Yeah, I think what we get from the one side is the Sui Foundation and also Mr. Labs, but I think the other side is the community. It's a very strong and positive feedback and help, and when we started, the focus wasn't on Sui, right? The beginning we thought maybe to create our own L1, and then we decided not to do that, and then we decided to use some different ecosystem, different networks, and at some point we said, look, we have multiple networks that we want to collaborate with and work with, but we really liked Sui, and we actually used some of the Sui stack. So we said maybe it makes sense to focus on Sui and to be a Sui protocol, right? A Sui solution, instead of going through multiple ecosystem. And I have to say was really the best decision we have ever made.
Yeah, I'm glad that you did that because Sui is doing very well and you guys are really killing it. But before we start and actually diving into everything about Ika, I want to give our folks a little bit of background, even though we talked about this a little bit last time. But I want to know who was Omer before Ika, before D-Wallets, before Sui, before. How did you enter cryptography? How did you enter Web3? A high level overview about you.
So yeah, my background is, I started from a very young age, coding, and then I was part of the intelligence core, right, working on stuff connected to cybersecurity and cryptography. And after that, I started my first cybersecurity company, Web2, not Web3, Salt Security, which is a unicorn today. So really, since I was very young, this was my focus, right? Starting from cybersecurity to cryptography, and until now. And at some point, I really liked crypto and Web3, even before I joined it, right? As this is my job now. I looked into Bitcoin when it started, and Ethereum, and I was fascinated about it, and I knew that one day I'm gonna do it. And then when I thought about, okay, now it's the time, we were thinking, what's the best solution? What's the best way to leverage our expertise, right? We're coming, it's not just me, it's also the team. We're all coming from the same background of cybersecurity and cryptography. And Ika seems, the best solution, the best thing that we can bring to the table, a game changer. And we are one of the only teams that can really make it happen, right? So this was the way that we look on that. And also from my perspective, all my life I've been to cybersecurity and cryptography, right? So it really makes a lot of sense for me to focus on that solution.
Looking back at all the failures that we've seen in Web3, bridges, cross-chain hacks. What was the aha moment that convinced you a zero trust, massively decentralized approach was the only way forward into this industry right now?
I think when Web3 started, we had like, many bridges. And, the first time when you have new technology, so the first way to react to that is to say, it's new tech, it takes time, but let's wait, let's see, 1, 2, 3 years, let's see what will happen, how the market will be, what the solutions will be, or if it will be solved. And I think part of the issue is that it's really the problem of multi-chain, right, is fragmented. It means that you have so many different solutions, you have different bridges, for everything you have its own solution, and then it's really hard to create that infrastructure that everybody relies on, and you have the track record, right, and you have the security in place. And also a lot of the tech that exists weren't really good, right, from the first step, because the cryptography wasn't there, the design wasn't there, the security assumptions weren't there. So I think when I look on the space, at first I said, okay, let's wait those 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, let's see. But because of those issues, those fundamental issues, it never really solved, right? We keep seeing those problems again and again and again with new bridges, new attacks, right? All the time. And this is when I think I had this moment, right? Like you said, that, we need to create that infrastructure, a fundamental solution that can really solve this multi-chain issue, right? We can't really build, some specific solution, right? Very patchy for every chain, for every between different chains, for a specific type of asset all the time, right? We need something that is an infrastructure, and it can be leveraged for all of Web3, right? For any chain, with any asset, and not just for assets, right? For smart contracts, for NFTs, for whatever you want. So I think after having a few years and seeing that there is no good solution, I think this is when we said, like, okay, we need to solve that.
So basically, you found the gap into crypto, and I said we're gonna solve this problem with initially the wallet and now ICA. But for someone new to the ecosystem, to ICA, how would you explain exactly what it is and what a wallet is, and why it's a new primitive for Web3?
Yeah, so I think whenever you think about crypto, you think about the way that you authenticate and you interact with different blockchains. The way that you do it is using, a key. You have your private key, or mnemonic, or different, but it's the same thing, right? At the end of the day, it's a private key. And also what you need is digital signature algorithm, right, to sign transaction to those different chains. So for example, if you're using Bitcoin, you can create an address using SecP256K1, for example, which is the curve. And then you have the signature algorithm, which can be ECDSA. Also today you have Taproot, which is a Schnorr. But at the end of the day, you have those different type of authentication ways to the blockchain. And this is how the user interacts with the blockchain. Whenever you want to do it in a multi-chain settings, you can think about the same thing, the same mechanism, but now try to make it decentralized, right? So this is the whole idea of a DWALT. You can think about it as a decentralized private key. It's not really a private key as the way that you would think about it, but it works very similarly to a private key. And the idea is that for this private key, you can derive the address, right? Depends on the curve of the that you are using for signing for the signature algorithm. But at the end of the day, the idea is that you can have this address on Bitcoin, this address on Ethereum, this address on Solana, this address on Sui, and you can generate signatures. The difference, because it's decentralized, you also can write a smart contract that bind the logic to it, right? So you can sign only if this condition happened, right? Or in those cases, or whatever you want, basically.
So basically, it's like similar when you log into an account and you always log in with your email address or Facebook or LinkedIn or I don't know, Twitter.
So yeah, whenever you log in with your account, you can think about it as, you're connecting directly, right? But then you have services that using API, right, to connect for on behalf of you, and then there is logic that does something. So you can think about it similarly, right? Like the D wallet authenticate to those different blockchains. It has addresses on different blockchains, and now we have the logic that controls the D wallet, right? And the logic can be whatever you want, right? It's completely Turing complete. It can be anything. So you can think about it from different aspects, right? I think that the most obvious use case, the most obvious solution, for sure, it's custody, right? Because okay, I have my own wallet, now I can do custody, so it can be custody that seems more like custodians, right? Or any type of solution where you have multiple users using it on multiple chains. But you can have different type of use cases, right? From DeFi to gaming to anything that you can think of as a multi-chain solution.
Makes total sense. And also, you could say like the backbone of Vika is like the two PC MPC protocol. What makes it different from the other threshold signature schemes that we've seen before? And why do you feel this is something breakthrough?
Yeah, so when we started, we looked on the existing schemes, right? MPC schemes, just to make it clear for the audience, and I'm sure that some people they're not familiar with MPC, and maybe they haven't watched the previous podcast.
Yeah, it's better to explain it. Good idea.
So to give the refresh, MPC is multi-party computation. The idea is that you can run a computation between different parties where one of the parties have to share their secret information. Okay? In our case, you can think about the different parties as the validators, Onika. So the validators, each one of them have secret share, and only together they can generate signature, or they can compute the address, or everything that they can do is only together. And you need 2/3 of the validators to do that, right? This is in our settings. Also, the unique part that we have with 2PC MPC, we have multiple improvements that we made, but I think this is one that you really have nothing even close to that, is that you can also have the user participating all the time, right? And it will be cryptographically enforced. And this is why we call it 2PC MPC. 2PC because you have the user and the blockchain, and only together they can run the MPC, which is also, you also need the 2/3 of the validator signing. So it means the user plus 2/3 of the network. You can also have it just the 2/3 of the network. But if you have the user participating, then you have zero trust security, and the user know that there is no way to steal the assets without the approval, without the participation of the user. So this is, I think, the first difference that we have to other solutions, to other type of threshold schemes that exist today. The other part that we really changed that, and it was super important for us from the beginning, was to make sure that our protocol is completely decentralized. Because the existing ones, in terms of performance, their focus wasn't on a decentralized setting. So if you think about any type of custodian or MPC solution, right, you have Fireblocks, you have Zengo. In their case, it's usually 2PC or 3PC, right? You have the user, and then you have Fireblocks, right? Or you have the user, Fireblocks, and third party. You don't have hundreds of parties. So the focus wasn't about performance and also having a large set of participants. In our case, that was the focus because we wanted everything to be decentralized. Today on Nika, we're almost close to 100 validators. And the reason that we don't have 100 yet is not because of any technical limitation, it's just because we're still adding new validators all the time. So we are the first solution that is completely decentralized. You need 2/3 of the participants. Also, the other part, which is very important, is that just think about it. If you have many D wallets, right? Let's say that we have 1 billion of D wallets. Then whenever we want to change something, let's say that the committee of the validator changes, then you need to reshare that, right, for the new committee. So if you have 1 billion D wallets, then you have to do it 1 billion times, right, with the existing schemes. Which again, it just makes no sense, right? You want to do 1 billion actions just to change the committee every time that you have a new validator or somebody leaves, right, in the committee. So in our design, we made it in a way that we have to do it just one time for the full network, right? So we have to reshare the signatures of the validators one time whenever we change the committee, and that's it. It doesn't matter how many participants we have. Also, from the side of performance, we got the best performance that exists today. So we're sub-second in terms of signature with this number of participants, right? Like we have better performance with more participants.
And you did that. You achieved the subsequent signing because you've paired the two PC and PC with the Swiss consensus, right? With the Mysticeti.
Exactly. So this is the part that we took from Sui, the consensus, Mysticeti. We're using Mysticeti. So Mysticeti is sub-second, which is great, but it's not enough, because if the signing of 2PC and PC on ICA is not also some sub-second, right? It even should be like lower enough, so together it will still be sub-second. So in our case, it's sub-second, right? Because the communication, everything together, it's still sub-second. And this is like 2PC and PC v2. So we had 2PC and PC v1 when we started. Then I think like a year before we went live, we accomplished 2PC and PC v2, which brought a lot of improvements. Like we had so many improvements in v1, in v2 we had even more improvements. And now we're working on v3. And 2PC and PC v3 is going to be even better, like faster. I know that it sounds like, it's too much, like we have sub-second, how you can improve that, but we have improvements to that. So in terms of that, instead of throughputs, instead of almost anything, we're going to have, right now we have the fastest MPC protocol that exists in the market, not even close to all the existing schemes. What we're going to have is even huge improvements on top of that. So the next version is even going to be much faster and much better than what we have today.
As you said a little bit earlier, the wallets basically unlock native interoperability across several ecosystems like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui. What's the first wave of application you expect to see?
Yeah, so we have first of all, we have the builders that building. I think the first one to launch is going to be native. I'm not sure if you're familiar with native. They're also building on Sui. They're using ICA and D wallets, and their goal is to create the layer of Bitcoin, of BTC. So you have ICA. ICA is the infrastructure, right, for the D wallets. Then their idea is to have on top of that the layer for Bitcoin. Right, so now if you want to do something with BTC, you can do it without needing to build the connection to parse the transaction or to verify the transaction was approved and all of those stuff. So basically what they're building is a programmable native BTC on Sui using Giga.
So it's not like a wrapped BTC.
It's actually, so they're going to have also their I think it's NBTC, which is like the native BTC. But what they're building, the programmable native BTC, is not wrapped, because you are writing the logic on Sui, but it's actually held with a D wallet, and it's not the wrapped version. So you directly enforce the policy on BTC on Bitcoin, right? So it's not a bridge, it's not wrapping. It's I know that it's a different approach and different way to think about it, but you can think about it the way that we had many of the Bitcoin L2s, right? That they had the narrative of programmable BTC. It doesn't work. Like right now, you see that it's really hard for them to ship real solutions. So it's that, right? But it's going to work. I think that's the difference. That you have a solution that works today, And also it's native because you can have the zero trust aspect, right? So if I'm the user, there is no way to sign transactions without me, and still I have the logic that enforced using the D-Wallet on Sui.
You also launch the future transactions. Can you tell me how does the pre-signing actions like liquidations enable DeFi protocols to stay zero trust while still executing complex logic?
So yeah, I think if you think about the zero trust, so let's say that I want to create, just as an example, a lending protocol where I want to have a way to make sure that, in case of liquidation, I receive the assets from the D wallet, right? So if I can't sign without the user, then the user cannot transfer the asset and to pay the collateral for the lending protocol in case of liquidation. So this is where the future transactions comes, right? So the idea is that the user sign, you can think about it as a partially signed transaction. It's not completely. So the user sign from the user side that transaction, but the network doesn't sign it, right? So it's only the user. And then only if certain condition met on the policy on Sui, only then ICA will finalize the transaction, and then you have the transaction to transfer the assets. So that's the whole point, is that you can sign now a transaction from the user side, right? That will be fully executed only if certain conditions met.
And you also mentioned the zero trust protocol. I remember last time we talked about the ZTP. You also tell me about the antidote to castle and moat. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
So the way that we look on that is that any protocol building on ICA and Sui that are using zero trust, they are zero trust protocol, right? So for example, if you use native with their programmable BTC and the user keeps the user share, then it's zero trust, because again, the user, there is no way to sign without the user, right? So in terms of security, in terms of protection, any ZTP, any zero trust protocol is the highest level of security on a multi-chain decentralized protocol that you can have.
Yeah, I think that's the only way forward. And this is something that we did achieve. Multi-chain, and actually.
I can give you an example. We have Aeon that they're building right now, a bot. It's like it's helping you for your trading, and it's using AI, right? So it really helps you to do whatever you want. And the idea is that you can automate that, right? But the issue is that if you automate that, then you give too much power to the AI, and then you need guardrails, right? Somebody to make sure that the AI does only the stuff that you want it to do, right? And in that case, this is how they are going to leverage ICA and D wallets. So they're going to put those guardrails on the smart contracts, right, on Sui, that will make sure that the D wallet will sign only the transaction that they want the AI to do or to trade or whatever you want. In that case, because you have the user and you have the AI, then everything can be zero trust, right? You don't need to give the access to anyone else. It can be a really closed environment that I give only the access to the AI, but still I have the guardrails. And at that design, right, at that certain condition, you can think about it as ZDP, right? Because I don't have to worry about giving the access or the asset to the network only. It's all semi. I also need to approve it, right? So this is a good example, a very good example for ZTP.
Mm-hmm. But tell me a little bit about the encrypted user shares, because I know they simplify the key management. But why does this matter, like for mass adoption?
Yeah. So the idea of the encrypted user share is that for every D wallet you have the user share for making sure that the D wallet is zero trust, right? But then if you have, let's say that you're, as a user, you have thousands of D wallets, right, for different use cases, then you have to keep many user share, which like private keys. It's not a private key because it's like it's kind of a secret, but still you have to keep it somewhere, and then all the time you have to manage that and work with that. So what we build that as part of the protocol of ICA. It's all native, it's all on Sui. So you can have an encryption key, one encryption key, that you also have an address that derived from that, and I'll tell you why the address is important, but you also get an address for that encryption key. And using that encryption key, you can encrypt as many as user shares as you want, right? And then you have just to keep one encryption key, right? One secret.
It's like a password manager.
Yeah, you can think of exactly. It's like a password manager, but it's even smarter than that. So I said that we have the address for every encryption key. And the reason why we have the address is because I can transfer the secret share to you on chain.
Okay.
Based on the address. So the address also contains the public key for the encryption. So let's say that I want to give you access. Let's say that we have a custody solution.
It's like delegated access.
Yeah, so let's say that we have a custody solution, right? And I want to give you access because you're also a user in the company, right? For example. So instead of sending that to you, I don't know, on Slack, on a WhatsApp, or in ways that it's not very good, and also you have no verification that it's the correct user share and everything works the way that you want.
Yeah, which happens a lot these days. A lot of accounts stolen and people pretending to be your friends and they are not.
Exactly. So the idea, instead of doing that, you will give me your encryption key address, right? And I will send it on-chain encrypted to your encryption key. And that's it. And then you have that on-chain and you can just start and using that, the D-wallet and this environment, right? So I can give access in a way that is cryptographically secure. Again, like I gave you the access, only both of us has the access and no one in the world can do that, right? No one in the world has access, and we do all of that on-chain, right?
Yeah, this is something that I would like to explore using in our company. I mean, you know, as you said, you bring new people on. It's cool to have something like that. How can I try it? I mean, if I want to do this now, what are the next steps?
So actually, we don't have today protocol that does that, but we have team and they're working exactly on that, on a solution. It's like you can think about it as, you know, this as multi-chain Gnosis safe, or I don't know, decentralized fire blocks. Like, think about it however you want.
Yeah, I use safe in our company. Yeah.
Yeah, so think about it as multi-chain safe, right? Where you also have that zero trust as part of it, right? So we have team that's working on that. They are not, I think they're still in stealth mode. I don't think they went live and talked about it yet, but once they ship their product, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to use that internally.
Yeah, so basically they are leveraging ICA's stack and they are bringing the front end and everything and user experience.
Exactly. So you have the front end, you have you have some back end, you know, for just to make it easier in terms of the UX UI, but all the logic, right, all the policy, all the management is on chain using ICA.
Yeah, comes from you.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to touch a little bit down on the ECAT token because you guys just launched, but I want to know exactly how do you explain the fees, the staking, and the governance all that together in securing the network?
So the path that we took was very similar to Sui. It's not exactly the same, but we try to be very similar because we think it's a really good approach, especially for the beginning, right? When you start, you want to focus on the important stuff, right? And you want to make sure that everything is working. So we have the network, it's proof of stake, so you need stake. Then you get a reward, right? Which is include, you have a subsidy part, and also you have the part that comes from the transaction fee. So everything that you do with the ICA, you have to pay ICA. So it basically pays fee for creating a D wallet, for signing transaction, for future transaction, for any action that you do. And also, um, we have, in terms of governance, currently is very similar to SWI. So you need, so basically the validators, they're also
Or
decided.
100 right now, right?
It's a bit less, but yeah, but they are
A bit
decided.
less.
Yeah, but I think now it's very close. It's getting closer to 100. But the idea is that the validators, whenever they agree the code base, right, we need 2/3. Whenever they do that, then they can actually vote on the new version, and this new version can contain whatever you want. So it's very similar to SWI, right? On SWI, the governance is the same thing, is the validator. So whenever you have an upgrade, it's kind of a governance, it's a voting.
Yes. Well, when we started our discussion, you said you are very grateful to the community, and I saw that you gave 60% of the supply to the community. How does this distribution model help to ensure decentralization in the long term and the future of ICA, I suppose? Because without community, as you both know, we're free is nothing. It's gonna die.
Yeah, so I think a mistake that many protocols, many projects do, is when they start, they give a lot to insiders, to investors, and what you end up with is a protocol that you can't really trust for the long term, right? Because so much is held by investors and by insiders, and then it's really, really hard for the community to know, like, if it's really centralized or really have the power, right? And in our case, we try to make sure that we're not getting to that point. So we really try to make sure that we give enough for the community side, right? I think it's over 50%. I think it's around 60%.
60%, I know,
Yeah, which is a lot. Like if you look on other projects, many of them today is even less than 50%, which I think is like, it's something that you can't have, right? You want to have the community part of it, and you want to make sure that the community gets those tokens and not insiders. So I think this is one aspect of it. And I think that the other aspect is also for the long term, right? Because if you give too much, then you can't really facilitate the ecosystem, right? You can't really give what is needed. You don't have way to get the capital that you need for the long term of the development, right? And building the community. So I think at the end of the day, like the way that we thought about that is 10 years, right? It's like what ICA is going to be in 10 years, and not what ICA is going to be in 1 year, right? So that was the goal. I know that sometimes people are, upset because in their mind they're thinking like 1 year ahead, and we're thinking 10 years ahead. So we try to make sure that everything we do is really protecting the project, the community, the future, and we really focus and we really believe in the long term.
Yeah, I think these days we are starting to see projects, teams. They are not really having that old mindset to really cash out very quickly. So we are seeing more mature builders and businessmen that think like you. So we are thinking long term rather than just really milk this cash cow.
Yeah, I think this is the way to go. I think this is also important for making sure that Web3 and crypto become, mass adapted, right? By users, becoming the future tech for the world. We need to have that mindset, right? We can't have the mindset of 1 year, 2 years. It should be long term. This is also why we really focus on making sure that all the insiders, they have like a long lockup, right? And there is no way that people won't be aligned with the long term.
Yeah, that's the only way. I mean, that's the only way as for an industry. If we're not gonna do that, the industry is gonna collapse. We were talking a little bit about builders earlier, and you launched the RFP program. If I'm a builder today and wanna get a grant from ICA, where should I go and what should I know?
So we have the link. We published a link that you have application form. We already had many applications, I have to say, more than what we expected. And we want to get more, right? The goal is like we're building something big. The next 2-3 years are going to be insane, right? And we want to have as many projects as possible, solving big problems. So we have the link that we shared. I think maybe I can share with you, and you can also share it with the podcast so people
Yeah,
can have
yeah,
access to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Exactly. So
there,
it's a very good idea.
exactly. So there you have like the way you can submit. And I have to say, we're also talking with different partners, right? Beside us, beside ICA, in the SWE ecosystem to also help with those RFPs. So we want it to be, something that we get multiple investors, right, and capital from different participants, and also help. So it's not only that, right? It's not only getting money, it's also how we make it successful, how we make sure that, if we are part of it, those projects will be successful and will be part of the community in a very easy way.
Yeah, because you need more than actual money. You need support because a lot of these builders are very young and they don't really have any experience how to run a business. So they don't think like long term like you did. They don't think, oh, I need revenue or something. Maybe it's a little bit chaotic, so they need like some guidance. And I think that's more important than money, to be honest.
I agree. So the goal here is so when you have like something like Kika, and it's the same thing as Sui, right? Whenever you have like the infrastructure, a place for builder to start build, you have many just build stuff without talking to you, without getting help, and then they might end up with cool stuff, but maybe it won't be useful enough, or it will missing some stuff that you need in order to make it really useful to many users, right? So, or maybe they have mistakes in the way that they run it, or maybe it's hard for them to get access to capital, or maybe they get bad investors, right? So I think whenever you do it using the RFPs, right, whenever you fill the form, you submit the application, we'll take a look on that, we'll try to help you, and to make sure that you are on the right path, right? Of course, at the end of the day, the builders are going to build a project. It's not us, right? It's going to be separate teams, separate projects. But the goal here is to help and make sure that it will be a successful project.
What kind of builders do you target? I mean, what kind of dApps do you want to see on ICA using the ICA stack?
I think like in general, what we're looking for are for builders that try to build new stuff, right? To really redefine what you have today in Web3. And we're not looking for builders that trying to fork Uniswap and to create another Uniswap, right? This is not the goal. We want people in mindset to say, I'm going to build the next Uniswap, and no, not I'm going to fork Uniswap. So
Are you looking at like consumer apps also?
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's the goal. I mean, in a few years, I think we're gonna see crypto actually going mainstream and people using crypto without knowing they're using Web3.
yeah. So one of the RFPs, for example, is Swap, which is wallet as protocol.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the idea is that it's an API, and we actually have one company that is working on that. They already submitted, and the idea here is that you have an API that on any app you can just use Dio Wallet and ICA simply, right? So for example, they are building that infrastructure. So if tomorrow you want to build your own app, and in your app you need Dio wallets, you can integrate in 2 hours. So that's really the goal. This is really what you get, and I think this is a lot of our focus. So maybe some of the RFPs might seem like they're very focused on crypto, but actually if you think one step right further, you'll see that we're trying to target that to the users, right, to mass adoption. So how we can connect that to
That's the
use
goal.
cases.
That's
Yeah.
the goal. Omer, looking back, you've had like a bunch of test nets, incentivized test nets. What were the biggest lessons that shaped the way you launched mainnet?
Hmm. I think that when we work on that, we estimated that to be much simpler. And I think because, when you think about having, I don't know, 20 validators, probably it's much easier. Because when we started, like the first testnet that we had, we had like 15 or 20 validators. It was like the first time that we just wanted to try it and test it with different parties. But whenever you get to 80, then everything changes, right? And then every estimation that you have, it's not the same. And then you have one mistake and could lead for a delay of a few hours. And if you need everybody to do it at the same time. So when we had testnet and we had mainnet, we had those issues. And at some point, we know that some of the validators said like we're waiting like 4 hours to get to go live, and we had some delays, but at the end of the day it was just a few hours and not days or months, so that's fine. But I think now we know much better how to do that. So you need to be prepared for large set of validators. I know that many builders don't do that, right? Don't build a network with so many validators or this large of a network. But I think you need to take your estimation and just double that, right? So whatever you think it will take, so if you think it will take 4 hours, at least 8 hours, right? Or if you think that you need like a few days, or if you think that you won't have many issues as you think, probably you will have many more issues than you thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to coordinate a bunch of validators on different time zones. And even if you have like an issue on weekend, I mean, we're always on standby on weekends, but it's easier to like miss a message or something. So,
Yeah.
but but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So we had like, I know that some of the validators of their ops team had to stay awake almost like the all night to get the mainnet online. But stuff happens and everything went live as we expected, so we're happy about it. But it's really to be more prepared, and I think also it's to try to do it more. I think probably it's better to try to make the testnet look as close to the mainnet in terms of the process, right? The
Yeah,
first
that's the goal.
testnet, yeah, the first testnet that we had, because it was tested, so we said, okay, we don't need to do it in a few hours. We can do it like in 1 week, right? So we can do it slowly and easily, but the minute you can do it, you have to do it like on the same day, and you want everybody to be live. So I think even if it takes more efforts, you do that, right? So have the testnet with all the validators on the same date, like a few weeks before mainnet, and see that it's all working. See what's the cost, what you need, what's missing, right? Everything that you need there.
Yeah, I know how it is, but as I said, I mean that's the beauty of decentralization.
Yeah.
When you hit that coordination to a lot of things and everything works out, it's like damn, that feels good.
Yeah, I have to say that once we had like mainnet live, like you have everything live. The first thing that we waited was for the DKG of the network. Like DKG is the distributed key generation, so they need to create the key between them for the MPC. So we waited for that. It took them like 2 minutes, right? It's like one time for the whole network. So we waited for that, and like you're waiting and you're like, we hope everything works fine. Then we said that we have the key, everything generated, and then we said, okay, this is like the time to test, right? To create the first e-wallet. We run it, we had the first e-wallet, we signed, we had the first signature, and then we were like, okay, we can go home, we can rest. We had like a full day working on that. So it was really, really exciting to see that live, to see the first e-wallet, right? To see the first signature there, to see everything working.
Looking ahead, Omer, what are the key milestones you want to achieve in the next 12 months?
So we have a lot of stuff that we're working on. Some of them we can't share yet. But I can tell you that the goal is that whenever you think that, we add with ICA today, with 2PC MPC, with the V2 version, right? So people think that we have the best MPC, right? The best performance, and everybody's right? We have the best scheme. Just think about improving that in a few orders of magnitude, right? So this is what we're working on. Like, we're not stopping. We're working to make sure that it's going to be not just today the best solution, but also in the future. And this is our focus. Also, we're working on the tooling, right, on the SDK. So we had the new SDK that we just shipped, I think, 3 weeks ago. And we're still improving it. So also we want to add more capabilities on top of that. And also we're working on some libraries on-chain, so dev tools basically, to make it easier and simpler to use the wallets. And this is from the technical side. Also for the community side, we have a lot of stuff that we're working on, and some of them are connected to some partnerships and agreements, so stuff that we can't share yet, but we believe going to be a game changer for the future.
Outside of cryptography, cybersecurity, crypto, all these terms that really nobody understands, what keeps you inspired and energized on a day-to-day basis?
I think what I look all the time is not what we have today, right? Because what we have today is great, it's amazing. It's like what we can achieve in 1 year, in 2 years, right? So when I think, we can have, 20% of all the crypto assets coordinated by D wallets on ICA and SUI, right? All the BTC. So this is the way I think about it, and this is what keeps me excited about working on that. And all the time I'm just thinking what we need to do next to bring that value to SUI, to ICA, because if you think about it, every asset that you have on a D wallet, it's also SUI's value, right? So just think about holding a custody of, billions of BTCs, billions of dollars worth of BTCs, right? Just think about that. It's also value that comes to SUI, right? To the ecosystem, and also for ICA. So this is the way that I think about it, and this is what makes me excited, right? What we can achieve in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years.
What's been the hardest personal lesson you've learned on the journey of building ICA?
Again, sorry.
What's been the hardest personal lesson you've
Oh.
learned on the journey of building ICA?
Okay, so I think it's it's a good one, but when we started with the cryptography side, right, we look on what exists, and we said, okay, we think that we can do that. We talked with other people. They told us, you can't do that, right? And we said, no, we can do that, and we thought that we're going to do that in six months to 1 year. People told us it's impossible, and we thought that we're going to finish that in less than 1 year. And that was a mistake. We were right, because we could have done that, and we proved that we can do it. But it took us almost 2 years, almost double than what we expected. Which also, whenever you have like a company, a startup, and you have like your own, the way that you prepare for everything and the roadmap, you do it based on your estimation. And sometimes you have like 20% mistake, but we had like 100% mistake. So then we understood that we need to give more buffer, right? Because it's not like whenever you say, okay, I'm going to build an app and I know exactly how I'm going to do that, right? Or
you don't have any kind of benchmarks when you innovate.
Exactly. Whenever you create new cryptography, it's like it's innovation, right? It's like, I want to build a new spaceship, right? I don't know, it can take 6 months, it can take 5 years, right? It's really, really hard to estimate that. And for those stuff, you need to give more buffer and not to think about it like another app. So I think that was one of the mistakes that we had, and we learned that for cryptography, we always give much more time than what we expected. At the end of the day, we got like the best protocol, the best scheme, so we are happy about it, and we're excited about it. But yeah, this is something that you need to think more about whenever you start something like that.
What advice would you give to builders to trying to launch foundation infrastructure in this space?
So I heard many people saying for the last year, I think 2 years, that we don't need infrastructure, right? We need just user facing app, and we have too much infrastructure. I think this is really wrong. This is really a mistake. I think the issue is that we had too much infrastructure that we don't need. For example, we had too much layer 2s that we don't really need, right? It's cool, it's nice, but why I need so many L2s? What's the benefit of that, right? So I think what we need, especially for the future, right, for having mass adoption, for bringing the user and also the user-facing apps, we need more infrastructure. But we have to have the right infrastructure, right? Not just to have an infrastructure for the sake of having more infrastructure. So I think for builder, just whenever you build an infrastructure, think if you bring something new, if you change what exists, or is it more of the same, right? If you're just building another L2, probably it's not that important. Maybe there are very specific use case, very specific audience that need that, but in general, I think try to find something that can really reshape the space.
Yeah, I mean, even the institutions right now, they are building their own chains, but they don't really bring anything new to the table. They could use any chains. Just they are calling it payment chains, but it's just like any other chain.
I agree. I think for most of those use cases, you can just use Sui, right? I think they do it, right? They do it because like it make it look like it has more value. For the short term, I get it. For the short term, it always like if you have like new L1, it make it looks bigger. But I'm not sure if it's a smart move or good for the long term.
Yeah, I will see how it plays out. I mean, it's still early days, but we've seen this meta like Arc, Stable, Plasma, Stripes chain. Everybody's launching a chain. I'm really curious how it's gonna play out.
Yeah, and I have to say that we had something similar with L2s, like I think 1 year ago.
Yeah, the stablecoin chains are the new L2s right now.
Yeah. So it's like the same thing, but instead of L2s, it's now L1s. Let's see. I'm not sure that I know exactly how it played out. What I know is that if you have more chains, you need more ICA, right? More the wallets. So for us, of course,
so more PMF for you guys.
Exactly. It's more business for ICA.
Yeah. We are entering the final stage, Omer, and now we're going to do some rapid fire questions. But for this kind of questions, only top of the mind answers. What's your favorite book, paper, movie, podcast, or anything that shaped the work of how you think today?
It's a tough question, but I think like one book that I really like. The Benjamin Graham book, you know what I'm talking about? The book that Warren Buffett also.
Okay, yeah.
Benjamin Graham was like the teacher of Warren Buffett.
Yes.
No, I think it calls The Intelligent Investor.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it might not be connected to many things, right? To many, specifically to crypto or for startups. But I think it really make you think about businesses in a different way, right? From the investor perspective, and what you need to achieve to build a very successful business, right? So this is something that, I think everybody should read and learn. Even if you're not going to be an investor and you're not going to invest, but it's more about like how good investors should look on a successful company, right? And then as a founder, as somebody that building stuff as an entrepreneur, always take those lessons whenever I build stuff, right? Like how I make sure that I'm building this successful product, this successful company, and not just building something, right? That might be good or bad. So I always try to take those concepts into account for any type of business.
Top 3 crypto apps that you use on a daily basis?
I am more on the technical side, so I more use Cursor and those type of tools. Because I'm not really, trading on doing a lot of stuff on crypto. But I can tell you that, I'm using the explorers on Sui a lot, which I'm not sure like if it's part of that, right?
Yeah, it is an app at the end of the day. I mean, if you have a front end,
Like I have some tokens and I have some stuff, but I'm not really trading on the daily basis. Like I have account on Binance and different different type of exchanges, but like on the day-to-day, my focus is really on the technical cryptography side. And also I'm not trying to be an expert. Sometimes people asking me questions about what I expect for Bitcoin to do or Ethereum, or I don't know, right? But this is really the way that I look on those stuff.
where can people follow Ika today?
I think it's X. Just follow on X. We'll get everything there. It's ika.xyz. Right, I think you can also share that.
Yeah.
And beside that, we also have Discord, we also have Telegram, but really I think like everything you can get there.
Yeah,
Also,
the main hub is on Twitter, right? Everybody can find
it's on
it.
Twitter. Also, we have the docs on the website. Like if you need that from the, if you're a dev, right, developer, builder, and you need those stuff, but this is easy to get. It's just the website, also ika.xyz. But I think it's mostly X.
That's great. Omer, you're a busy guy. Thanks for making time to talk with me today on a beautiful Sunday. I wish you all the best. I'm very bullish on Ika, very bullish on Sui ecosystem is doing great. And I'm really looking forward to see that those billions of D wallets everywhere.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
Have a good one.